Piranhas are still active by the look of it. Cursed by piranhas.
It is vital to understand the behavior of the other fish in the river besides your quarry in order to avoid the other species, like the omnipresent piranha. To remove these sight hunters from the equation, I begin fishing at night. I set my line, now confident it is past piranha feeding time.
Nothing. So much for that plan. Another one bites the dust.
But I feel as though the noose is tightening. I am closing in. So I further fine-tune my approach. I discard the bottle and begin casting, dropping the bait quickly to the river bottom, reducing the amount of time it's hanging around in mid-water. Now will I finally be rid of the curse of the piranhas.
You want to see that?
Feels like a piranha, but it's too big for a piranha, I think.
Stingray venom had a role in ancient medicine. Find out what it was right after this. Ancient Greeks used ground stingray barbs as an anesthetic for tooth extraction. I'm deep in the heart of Argentina, hunting for a giant stingray. Something has just taken a whole fish bait and it's coming towards the boat.
Ah, look at that. So much for piranhas not feeding at night.
These Paraná River piranhas are among the largest and most ferocious I have ever come across.
And it's so big, I can't really get my hand around it.
I've encountered piranhas before and know that in the right conditions they are capable of attacking and devouring the largest prey in seconds.
I don't think I particularly want to fall in here. Piranhas, big piranhas, but also active at night. It shows just how hungry everything is in here.
I fish for hours.
That's really kicking. Ah, I think that's is that a piranha?
Only to pull in one piranha after another, each as big as the last.
That could be time to call it a night if these guys are active.
But it's hard to give up when I know the monster stingray must be down there. Even though stingray meat is good to eat and a large ray could feed many people, fishermen here refuse to hunt them. The next morning, I meet fellow fisherman Donald Pereira, who hooked one accidentally. A momentary lack of concentration, and he felt the full force of a stingray's barb.
Hace como 20 años. Puse un pie en ese cuando la raya se da vuelta, y ahí me clavó.
So he was actually fishing for one at the time, so he wasn't walking in the water, he actually had one on the line fishing from the bank, and then when he pulled it in, he lifted it up and said that it just whipped its tail around. ¿Dónde fue? Ah, aquí.
Ahí. Y tardó como 6-7 años para cicatrizar.
6-7 años.
Para cicatrizar.
Mm-hmm. This happened 30 years ago, and there's still a very obvious scar there. And he's telling me, and I didn't believe it at first, I wanted to hear it again, 6 or 7 years to heal.
Permanentemente eso estaba...
It was suppurating for that amount of time. You know, from just one moment of being stabbed, 6-7 years of a nasty wound taking all that time to heal.
Necrosis can lead to gangrene. The death of one cell quickly cascades, spreading to the surrounding cells, killing everything around it. Following envenomation, the victim suffers severe pain, vomiting, paralysis, tremors, even heart failure, and if not treated, death.
This is a Mandu Bay catfish.
The Amazon River is known for containing an evil collection of murderous beasts. But there's one family of fish living here that could write a serial killer's handbook. Their methods are so bloodthirsty and varied.
I can see from here the way they are just literally drilling their way into that fish.
Members of the catfish family have reportedly swallowed people whole. They've eaten them alive from within, and even gruesomely penetrated individuals in the most intimate of places. I'm Jeremy Wade,
Fish on!
biologist and extreme angler. And I'm on the hunt for these killer catfish to determine if this family are the Amazon's ultimate river monsters.
Now imagine that in an orifice.
In the heart of the Brazilian Amazon, a truck makes a solemn path towards the local police station. It carries a macabre load, the corpse of a man. But the circumstances of his death were bizarre in the extreme. Fearing accusations of murder, the fishermen have taken the corpse to the police station in the exact state in which they found it. Just a pair of legs protruding from the mouth of a vast catfish. Could this wild tale emerging from the Amazon really be true? Or is this just a made-up fisherman's tale, and no more real than this photo recreation of what it might have looked like? I've faced many of the largest and most feared creatures in the waterways of this world. And I've discovered that you don't need to swim in the sea to encounter a man-eater. Rivers harbour just as many monsters. Ask people what is the most feared fish in the Amazon, and they'll undoubtedly say piranha, electric eel, or even stingray. But I've come to Brazil to find out if catfish are actually the worst of the lot, a true mafia-style family of killers at large. And I've tracked down Sir Valmir, one of the witnesses to this bizarre murder, to hear his story.
Basically, there's a bit of a frenzy of fishing activity going on. One of the nets got stuck on a rock, and in that situation, the only thing you can do if you're not going to rip the net, you've got to go down and get it off. So this one fisherman dived in to free the net. However, what happened was that, he didn't come up.
Uma média de 4 horas.
4 horas.
4 horas pela boia.
The net came up, no fish in it, no fisherman. Nothing more was seen until about 4 hours later, when suddenly this huge fish appeared on the surface, and it was thrashing around because the fish was actually itself in trouble, actually choking. The fisherman was actually half inside the mouth of the fish, just the legs of the fisherman sticking out. And what happened then was that the fishermen all went to try and get the fish to net it, and he said, because it was obviously quite tired, it was quite easy, just one net. They got it in and clubbed it to death. They left his body inside the fish and then went to Manaus as fast as possible. Obviously, get it to the police station to make sure that there's no suspicion that it was a case of murder or anything like that.
The murderer was identified as a piraíba, the largest species of catfish found here in the Amazon.
So that fish could have been about 500 pounds. I mean, we are talking some seriously big fish here. É peixe desse tamanho. Tem boca mais ou menos...
40 centímetros. 40 centímetros.
The mouth About 40 centimetres across, so that's a couple of foot across, but he says it opens up more, so sort of maybe 2.5 foot. This was a pretty monstrous fish and a pretty horrific end for that particular fisherman. He says there are people disappearing all the time and you never find a trace of them. You don't find the body, you don't find bones, you don't find anything. Even having heard this horrific story from an eyewitness, someone who was actually there, seeing this monstrous fish with the fisherman's feet just poking out of the mouth, I still find it really hard to believe that there are fish here capable of doing that. And what I want to do is actually see with my own eyes how big the fish are in these Amazon rivers. I think the first thing I've got to do is go back to where this story all started and actually go myself to the scene of the crime.
Valmir talked of seeing a 500-pound piraiba, which seems extreme, but photos do exist of some pretty large catfish. There are 3 species of giant catfish found here in the Amazon: the jau, the red-tailed catfish, and the piraiba. This catch was reported to be nearly 8 foot long and some 350 pounds. But maybe, as Valmir suggests, there are even bigger monsters out there, and if I follow his leads, perhaps I'll get to catch a man-eater of my own. After travelling for 12 hours, I reach my destination, a river junction up a tributary of the Amazon.
As far as I can gather, this is the scene of the crime. And what's interesting is this is a very obvious meeting of the waters. You can see it so clearly because the 2 rivers that meet here are different colours. One is muddy white water, one is black water.
According to the locals, large catfish wait in ambush at river junctions like this to predate on smaller fish travelling downriver.
Because I'm after a pretty monstrous fish, I'm using monstrous tackle. I've got a huge forged steel hook on the end attached to a length of wire, and then I've got about 300 yards of very strong line. Okay. And this rod, you'd normally only see this on a boat out in the open ocean, the kind of thing you'd use to catch marlin, tuna, that kind of thing, but I'm using this stuff in fresh water.
People only think of predatory fish living in the sea, but here I am about 1,000 miles from the ocean, staking out a crime scene to catch a man-eater.
Something down there. Just grab the bait, bent the rod, and then let go. That's a fish on, that's a fish on. It's taking line. Taking line, taking... Feels pretty sizable. It'll be a little bit decisive and brutal now. Fish doesn't want to know though, doesn't want to know. Going down. This is coming up in the water, there it is. It's a jau, it's a good size.
This fish is not the piraiba I was hoping for, but the jau is a catfish, and some fishermen claim it can be just as dangerous as the larger piraiba.
But it's not finished. Doesn't like the side of the boat at all.
It has a reputation for being so strong on the end of a line that some people will tell you that it has dragged fishermen down into the depths.
This is about 80 pounds, 80, 90 pounds. It's a good sized fish. The hook hold looks good. We might even be able to land it on land.
After 20 minutes of hard struggle, I have the better of it.
Hey. And my goodness, feeling the strength of this thing. I wouldn't want that around my ankle or, I wouldn't want to be head first down the mouth or something like that either. There we go. It looks a really sinister fish. That dark black colour, and it gets that from living down in the lightless zone, deep in the rocky pools, where it just blends in with the background. And particularly looking at it from here, just the shape of it, you know, it's a great big mouth, large head, very muscular midriff, and then just tapering off into this very chunky, powerful propulsion unit.
Just looking at these long whiskers that they use to probe their surroundings, it's pretty obvious where catfish get their name.
So this is a real, you know, this is a fish that's adapted for strong water, very strong fish. And if one of those was to grab you, there's not a great deal you could do about it. Oh, time to release this animal.
So the scene of the crime may not have yielded the man-eating Piraiba I was after, but this impressive Jau shows that there are some large catfish down there.
Oh, wanting to go already. Look at that, wanting to go already. That's good. That's good. There it goes. Ooh, quite a fish.
If I can get a big catfish here at this minor river junction, then perhaps if I fish the largest river junction in the world, the meeting of the waters near Manaus, I'll land the mother of all catfish. I'm on a mission to hook the largest catfish in the Amazon, the Piraiba, as I want to prove that the stories of them swallowing fishermen are more than just fishermen's tales. And after catching a large Jau at a river junction, I think I know just the place to catch a monster.
This is it. This is the meeting of the waters. This is the black water of the Rio Negro coming down here, mixing with the white, muddy water of the Rio Solimões, and together they form the mighty Amazon. And this has to be probably the biggest river junction in the world. And everybody says that the big catfish, they love river junctions. So this place has to be a good bet for the mother of all catfish.
The point where these two rivers meet is more than a mile wide, over 200 feet deep in places. And for almost another 4 miles, these two massive waterways refuse to merge due to their different speeds, temperatures, and sediment contents. Giulio Cavalcanti has caught a 211-pound Piraiba at the meeting of the waters. But on another occasion, he nearly died here when the line wrapped around his body and started to pull him out of the boat. He had to cut himself free with this very knife. Giulio credits his fishing success to a secret bait formula that he wraps around a hook, seals in a tin can, and leaves to bake in the sun for 3 days.
Oh, oh dear. I think most of the fish in this river are going to know that stuff is in there.
Look here.
Right. That just looks so... Oh. I've never seen anything quite like that.
Mas é muito boa. O peixe gosta demais.
Right, the fish like it. The fish like it. This is the guts, the byproducts of 8 chickens. So the entire intestines of one chicken is about that long, wound round, and you've got 8 entire intestinal tracts of chickens to make up that bait. I think with this now, I have to be ready to go fishing.
Giulio reckons that once the sun sets and night falls, the catfish come out to feed.
That's the bait on a huge hook, lump of lead to keep it down. I'll feed this over the side. I've got 30 foot of iron cable. Feels good. The monsters could be on the move. How's this for float fishing? I've got a barrel on here. I mean, this is a Jaws moment if ever there was one. The bait's out, the engine's cut. It's now just a case of being quiet and just drifting down with the current.
But being out here after dark also increases the risks.
Here, you've not only got a very, very powerful fish that might hang on the end of the line, you've also got to keep an eye out for the weather. And also, this is a very, very busy waterway. There's going to be boats, big barges, all sorts of stuff, and they'll just run you over if you give them a chance, if you don't get out of the way. And 30 foot below all that is my bait. The water underneath me could be 200 feet deep. But the Piraiba, whose name means mother of all the fishes, is totally at home here. With a lightning-conducting rod in my hands, I'm easily the highest point in this wide stretch of river. So I decide to call it a day before that storm gets any closer. Well, nothing came for that bait. And I don't know, maybe I can't blame them. Either it's just not my night, or the fact that it is so close to a big city means that the fish have all been fished out. You know, there is a huge fishing fleet operating from Manaus, and this is right on the doorstep. Perhaps, you know, I need to go further away from civilization if I'm to get the mother of all the catfish. I head into the dark heart of the Amazon, up a distant tributary of the main river, to see if that tactic changes my luck. Maybe here I'll catch my man-eating Piraiba. Head down, head down, head down, head down, head down. Ah! Fish on.
Could this be the river monster I'm after? But who'll win this battle? Me or the fish?